Imagine standing on a battlefield shrouded in smoke and chaos. The sun barely rises, yet screams echo through the air, clashing swords, panicked horses, and the cries of men who know they may not survive the day. Now picture an army, so vast and merciless that it seems unstoppable. Soldiers move in perfect formation, yet danger lurks in every shadow. Traps, ambushes, and brutal tactics turn the terrain itself into a weapon. You watch as men fall, sometimes not from battle, but from exhaustion, fear, or sheer terror. These weren't the famous battles of history textbooks. These were the forgotten, terrifying clashes that even Rome tried to keep hidden. Entire legions tested against impossible odds, facing enemies who would do anything to survive. And anything to kill. Could you survive even one of these forgotten battles? Could you stand shoulder to shoulder with disciplined killers marching into chaos you can hardly imagine? Today, you'll step into the shadows of history, into battles so horrific, so unrelenting, that they haunt even the bravest soldiers who fought in them. Many of these battles remain unknown because history often remembers only the victories, the great emperors, and the well-documented campaigns. The horrifying, blood-soaked struggles in remote forests, rugged mountains, or rebel-held villages are rarely spoken of. Rome's military reputation was built on discipline, precision, and sheer brutality. Legionaries were trained to follow orders without hesitation, to march for days, to endure hunger, pain, and constant fear, all while carrying the weight of their world on their backs. They were relentless, but even the most disciplined soldiers could be caught off guard. The enemies they faced were no ordinary opponents. Fierce barbarian tribes, cunning insurgents, and unpredictable revolts tested the limits of Roman tactics. Unfamiliar terrain, the dense forests of Germania, the rugged hills of Dacia, or the marshes of Britannia made every step a potential death trap. And then there was logistics, tens of thousands of soldiers, thousands of animals carrying supplies, and entire camps built from scratch every day. Weapons, armor, food, and siege equipment had to move like clockwork. One mistake could spell disaster. This is the world you are about to enter. A world where discipline meets horror, strategy meets chaos, and even the strongest men could fall in ways the history books conveniently forgot to mention. You'd be standing among the Roman legions, thousands of soldiers marching through dense, unforgiving forests. The year is 09 AD, and Publius Quinctilius Varus leads 3 full legions into Germania. They're confident, disciplined, and utterly unaware of the trap ahead. Around 20,000 men, armored and armed, with hundreds of horses and mules carrying supplies, stretch along the narrow forest paths. The tension is thick. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves, sets hearts racing. Roman scouts move ahead, but the enemy is clever and unseen Germanic warriors who know the land better than anyone. As the column snakes through the dense trees, hidden forces strike. Traps spring from the ground, spikes buried beneath the soil, barricades that collapse onto the unwary, sudden attacks from the flanks. Chaos erupts. Men scream as comrades fall. Shields clash, and orders struggle to reach the stretched-out rear. The disciplined Roman formation breaks under relentless assault. Cavalry charges are cut off, infantry surrounded, and supply lines destroyed. By nightfall, the Romans are decimated, their advance halted, and the forest reclaims what little control they had. You feel the horror, knowing every misstep could be your last. The ground is slick with mud and blood, and even the strongest warriors falter under fear. Few survive, and the victory belongs entirely to the ambushers. Could you have survived even a single hour in the Teutoburg nightmare? Imagine standing on the open plains of Apulia in 216 BC. You are a Roman soldier, part of a massive army of 80,000 men under the command of consuls Lucius Aemilius, Paulus, and Gaius Terentius Varro. Across the battlefield, Hannibal's forces, approximately 50,000 troops, including cavalry from Numidia, Gauls, and Spaniards, wait silently, their eyes fixed on every movement. The tension is unbearable. As the Romans advance, confident in their numerical superiority, Hannibal's forces slowly tighten the trap. You can see the cavalry maneuver around your flanks, the infantry pressing inward like a giant, unrelenting vice. Panic spreads. The disciplined ranks of Rome collapse as men are crushed together, unable to fight or flee. Spears pierce armor, swords slash through gaps, and screams fill the air. The scale of the horror is unimaginable. Tens of thousands of men killed or wounded in hours. Cavalry tramples infantry. The battlefield becomes a writhing mass of chaos, mud, and blood. Supplies are abandoned, cries for help go unheard, and the once mighty Roman army is encircled, trapped in Hannibal's deadly choreography. Even as you try to push forward, the enemy closes in from all sides. You realize the trap is complete, and there is no escape. Every second is a fight for survival. History would later call Cannae one of the greatest tactical victories ever, but in the moment, it is pure terror. Could you have held your ground, or would you have been swallowed by the carnage like so many others? Imagine trudging through snowdrifts that bite at your face, the wind howling through the trees, carrying the cries of soldiers and the hooves of exhausted horses. You are part of a Roman auxiliary unit supporting campaigns in the far northern reaches of the empire, where winter turns the forest into a frozen labyrinth. The enemy, ruthless and familiar with the terrain, strikes from hidden positions. Every step is a battle. Frostbite numbs fingers and toes, rations are scarce, and morale is fraying. Your comrades stumble and collapse, unable to continue. Hidden pits, ice-covered traps, and sudden ambushes tear through your ranks, leaving confusion and carnage in their wake. The roar of battle mixes with the sound of cracking ice and the snapping of trees under weight. You dodge arrows that whistle past your ear and shield blows that crush bone. The terror is constant. There is no respite, no warm fire, no safety in numbers. Soldiers fight not only enemies but the relentless cold, exhaustion, and fear. You see friends vanish into the forest, swallowed by the chaos. Could you survive in this nightmare, knowing that every decision, every step could be your last? This is not the glory of Rome. This is the horror hidden in its campaigns, the forgotten agony of men who endured extremes no history book celebrates. Despite the terror, the Romans survived, or sometimes barely survived, through discipline, strategy, and relentless logistics. Every legionary knew his role, every movement planned with precision. Marshes were calculated, flanks protected, camps fortified, and supply lines maintained even under the most extreme conditions. Roman commanders exploited terrain, organized vanguard, rearguard, and flank patrols, and ensured that soldiers could endure terror while remaining operational. Tactics mattered as much as bravery. Ambushes, winter hardships, and psychological warfare could devastate armies, but Rome's military machine minimized these risks. Soldiers trained not just to fight but to anticipate chaos, endure hunger, and adapt to ambush or traps. Even when the enemy struck with cunning brutality, Roman cohesion often prevented total annihilation. These campaigns teach lessons about human endurance and strategic planning. Fear could be weaponized, but discipline and preparation countered it. Compared to medieval horrors, sieges, tortures, and brutal reprisals, the terror of Roman campaigns combined psychological pressure, extreme environments, and relentless pace. They were battles of not just might but meticulous planning, turning chaos into advantage. For anyone witnessing these events, the question remains, could you have endured, fought, and survived, facing terror on every side while carrying the weight of an empire on your shoulders? The lessons are clear. Courage alone was never enough. Only structure, preparation, and relentless discipline could turn horror into survival. The ground is littered with the bodies of soldiers, horses, and the forgotten dead. Roman standards lie broken, shields cracked, and weapons scattered in the mud. Casualties are staggering, tens of thousands lost in a single day, and survivors struggle to comprehend the scale of horror they've endured. Society reels from these battles. Families of fallen soldiers mourn, villages are destroyed, and entire regions face famine as supply lines collapse. Political fallout shakes Rome itself. Emperors and consuls are questioned, and reputations are ruined, sometimes fatally. The cost of war is far more than blood. It is the destabilization of the empire's very fabric. The psychological scars are just as devastating. Soldiers who survive face nightmares, anxiety, and the haunting memory of friends slaughtered beside them. Enemies who once thought victory was assured are equally scarred. Witnessing Roman discipline and brutality in full force, the human cost stretches beyond soldiers. Slaves, civilians, and allies are caught in the crossfire, forced to endure atrocities they cannot comprehend. Looting, starvation, and disease follow, leaving entire communities shattered. Could anyone endure this? Could you march into such terror and emerge alive, your mind and body intact? These questions linger, echoing across centuries, reminding us that history's greatest battles were as much about survival as they were about victory. Across forests, plains, and frozen lands, a pattern emerges. Terror, brutality, and chaos tested the Romans at every turn. Yet through discipline, planning, and sheer endurance, they survived what seemed impossible. The same fear that could break any ordinary soldier became a tool, channeled through strict hierarchy, logistics, and relentless training. Every battle shared a common thread, horror lurking at every corner. Overwhelming numbers, unpredictable terrain, and enemies who knew no mercy. And yet, the Romans adapted, survived, and often turned chaos into advantage. You've walked beside them through ambushes, starvation, and slaughter. You felt the ground shake beneath marching legions, heard the cries of the fallen, and sensed the fragile line between survival and annihilation. Could you survive the terror of Rome's forgotten battles? History leaves us with both awe and dread. The might of Rome was not just its soldiers or weapons, it was its ability to endure, to plan, and to survive where others perished. If these stories gripped you, subscribe and step deeper into history's shadows. Next, we'll uncover even more terrifying campaigns that Rome barely survived and the lessons they left behind for anyone daring enough to follow.